Technology has always been humanity's way of pushing past the horizon, from ships that crossed oceans to rockets that leave Earth entirely. With the recent launch of Artemis 2 in the NASA Artemis program, we're witnessing more than a space mission. We're seeing a test of whether modern technological civilization still pursues bold, long-term exploration. Tonight on The Rundown, we explore how technology shapes humanity's drive to explore, what Artemis reveals about our ambitions as a species, and whether big technological frontiers still inspire societies built around convenience and short-term innovation. At stake isn't just the moon, it's the kind of future our technologies are helping us build. Let's get to it. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope you had a wonderful Holy Week, if it was Holy Week for you, and Passover, and whatever you were, or just being with family, whatever you were celebrating. I hope it was beautiful. I'm so happy to be back, and I'm so grateful for my amazing friends, especially Tamra, who made last week possible. Thank you so much, Tamra.
I'm so happy you're back.
Well, you know, we should let people know, by the way, that the way this kind of worked, at least from my end, Ecamm makes it incredibly simple. I simply export the folder of scenes and send that to Tamra, and she just pulls it into
promptly
Ecamm.
Loses all of her buttons.
And you have to map buttons if you're using a stream deck, but all the scenes are set up already.
Yep.
All the overlays are there. The only overlays you have to send separately are video overlays. It's relatively easy, I think.
You did make it very easy for me. And, for my first time of, trying to navigate both, I've either done TD or I've been on a panel, but I've not done both at the same time. But between you sat with me and it was amazing. And Florence sat with me and fixed some of my little Ecamm setup issues. So, it was good. It gave me inspiration to learn more and to, play around with it, which I've been doing all week. So
amazing.
So thank you.
So grateful to you. So grateful to you. And grateful to my friend Tony, who's back again. How you doing, sir?
Hello, sir. I just want to say Tamara did a great job last week.
Yes, she did.
I really, thumbs up.
Yes, she did.
Happy to be here.
Hey, Tony, did you happen to watch the, was it the Tuesday night special, the Memo Live Tuesday night special?
I did.
It was really good stuff, I thought.
Yes.
And I was thinking of you the whole time because I know you guys are using Memo Live for your show, so it's great.
Yes. We're looking at we had a great time yesterday in our conversation with Coach Cabral Huff, and we are. I'm taking your example of bringing Memo Live into all of the things that I do online. So, just like you do Ecamm with everything, I'm going to do Memo Live with everything.
There you go. Love it. And someone is telling me in the chat that the Mukana video feed is not working. That's interesting because I see it here. Let me, Yeah, it seems
I see it too.
It's working in mine. Maybe just give it a good refresh, Andre. Sorry, it wasn't Andre. I apologize. Whoever said that. I saw it somewhere. I don't remember. In any case, fantastic. And Lois, how are you, man?
Hello. I'm doing well. It's spring. It's been wonderful. And it's now the weather is changing. We're going to have rain.
Aye.
You know.
Already? It's already started heating up here in Florida, which is not good news for us because it gets miserable. But I'm glad you'll have a little rain. You guys deserve some rain out there.
Yeah, we do need some rain, but
yes.
it's an interesting spring. It's been, I do the garden show with Don Shore, and it's been a very, very strange year.
In so many different ways, which I'm not going to get into. Dave Troutman, how you doing, sir?
I'm good. It's been a strange week up here too. So, we had spring, I think 3 times this week. It all melts away and then it goes green and then suddenly snows and then it melts away. So yeah, we get it a lot. I'm used to spring now. I've had too many. I'm with Lois. I think it should all settle down.
I love it. I love it. We've got a full panel today, including my friend and yours, Sky Gleason. How are you, Sky? We can't hear a thing you're saying because you're muted.
I'm muted because this is my puppet that I will try to, okay, well, I'll hold on to my scroll so that we have something to be distracted by. No, I'm just saying that
Squirrel.
Mad in the Kitchen is, Madeline Smithberg is now in San Diego, but I am Sky in the Kitchen tonight, just so you know. And I have not lost my buttons, Tamara, but it has rained here recently, so... But there is sunshine today. Back to Squirrel Land.
Squirrel Land. Hey, Squirrel. And friends and neighbors, and as a famous nighttime late show host says, all the ships at sea, look who has come to the rundown. Courtney, how are you, sir?
Oh, pretty good. Just wondered, Sky, if that's Gleason, is the squirrel called Norton? Gleason and Norton together again? Anyway,
We
that's
try.
before all of your ages, you know. It's I think Dave and I are the only ones that remember Gleason and Norton. You know.
It's really nice to have you here, Courtney.
Yes. To the moon, Alice. And that's very apropos for today. To the moon,
It is.
Alice.
It's perfect, actually. Absolutely. Speaking of today, let's jump right into the news. It was a big A. So I did something a little different this week for our news rundown. I actually sent 2 videos to, oh God, look at me. Wait a second. I just saw myself in this screen and I'm so low and tiny and silly looking. Wait, can I fix that? Hold on a second.
Is that any different than normal?
I guess
I'm
not.
just not sure.
No.
Yeah.
So I sent a couple of videos to the panel this week. And this first one was on AI and emotion. So I didn't mean for it to happen this way, but both of these stories happen to be Anthropic stories. So Anthropic put a video out 7 days ago that discussed how AI models sometimes seem to show emotion. And I watched this video fully expecting them to say, "Oh, don't be silly. They don't have emotions." Instead, I ended up walking away with, "Holy moly, they kind of do." It talked about so basically they read stories. The model read stories where characters experienced these different emotions. Love, guilt, grief. They observed as the model was reading this, they observed that specific neural patterns activated consistently for certain emotions within the LLM. They were looking at the neural network. So stories about loss and grief activated similar neurons. Stories about joy or excitement activated overlapping patterns. This showed the model had distinct internal representations for many emotions. So I need someone to talk me down here because I really did walk away from this thinking that my AI has emotion. Dave?
My chatbot has become suicidal, I think.
We're all concerned about that. Yes,
Yeah.
Courtney, yes. Yeah. These guys are using sort of a functional MRI metaphor to describe what's going on inside a parallel processing computer. And it stinks to me. It smells to high heaven. Baroness von Greenfield is a neurosurgeon in UK who does functional MRIs, and she's forefront with this stuff where you can see parts of the brain light up when you have a different task assigned to you, thinking and remembering and being warm and cold. It's not yet understood if they indicate thinking or suppression of thinking, and we're not entirely sure how the brain operates, so we don't really know what these little signals mean. And for them to see little pattern changes in the way their operating system functions, I think is quite interesting because, memory location on my map, on my Mac here is in one area and number function is in another and machine learning is in another, and they all light up differently according to what task I put at them. And it indicates nothing. It doesn't say a darn thing about what's going on in AI. However, my wife tells me that without a limbic system, you cannot have real emotions. I wait to see what limbic system they found inside their machinery. So
Well, also, I think it's like I thought the science was super interesting that they were trying to make a science analogy, but then they kept referring to Claude as a character, which as a writer, I've never thought of that before. But
Yeah,
the interaction was like,
fascinating.
you're talking to a character. I'm like, no, I'm talking to my friend Claude. What are you talking about? So
Right.
I was really curious why they put that video out.
I actually
You
thought
know
it
Feel
was
self-serving.
I was fascinated by the character piece because but what they essentially did is they sort of distinguished between the back end, the LLM, and then what we
The front
interact
end was
with,
different.
the UI,
Yeah.
as it were. And that
Right.
UI they called a character.
Yeah. But modeling emotions is a simple task. Actors do it all the time. Singers, writers, dancers, they all
No.
evoke emotions. And
Well-
we express them because they mimic him. They
Right, but
aren't
but
feeling that way. They're just making you feel
Exactly,
that way.
right. It's like telling an actor to cry is different than telling an actor to feel sad. You can't tell
Yeah.
someone to feel sad. You can tell someone to cry.
Or do an expression that someone would interpret as. I mean,
Right.
the kids who have trouble understanding emotion have to be taught which face means what. And this is something we all learn to do. So for them to think that it reads a whole bunch of material about, as they said, they fed it text about sad things and then it learned what sad is for humans. I don't think so.
So
I think it mimics really well, and it's a great party trick. That's for
Right.
sure.
So they talked to
Well,
they're
Dave-
calling this
David, you
functional
and I went to different
emotions.
acting schools.
Hold on, they're calling this functional emotions, and they're saying that it influences three different things. Then I'll get to Sky and Courtney. How the AI talks, and these are all acting. So to your point, Dave, how the AI talks, how it writes code, and how it makes decisions. Right. So it's not actually feeling, but it is functionally expressing. It's crying instead of feeling sad. Sky and Courtney, please.
Well, you're talking about the difference between putting something on from the outside or feeling it from the inside and it coming out. And again, the acting that I was trained in was to become that other person, to become that character. And that way, nuances, subtleties, subliminal idiosyncrasies will happen. If all you're doing is putting something on the outside, it's just a costume. But if you're being the character, for instance, best example was when you're playing an older person and you are physically a younger person, you think, well, they're slouched over and they're hunched over and their back is all like, but the reality is, as a young person, you are putting that character on. But as we have now aged, we recognize, no, as an older person, you're doing everything you can to stay upright. So it's 180 degree opposite.
Right. I will say, Sky, that yes, it's a character, it's acting, it's a play. And at the same time, good actors who are being showing functional emotion, as it were, cause real emotion or can cause real emotion in us.
There we go.
I watch someone crying or feeling or emoting, and that then brings that up in me. So, Courtney, go ahead.
Yeah, there's something scary that I stumbled across a couple of years ago that has to do with AI and emotion. And it's a software now out of China, out of Alibaba Group, called EMO, Emote Portrait Alive. If you do a search for that, it'll take a still image, any still image, and you add audio to it, and it does kind of the reverse of what you're talking about, and it will take that reference image and take the audio, and it'll remove the emotion. It'll take its cues from the audio. So if the audio gets very emotional, the picture gets very emotional. And it can sing or talk, and it takes its cues, and it animates that head in real time to the audio, either from an audio track or live sound with about 170 millisecond delay. So it can actually, people can sing, it can sing, and they can, it'll take that single still image like Marilyn there and give it an emotional response based on the cues that it learned from machine learning in the audio, different audio and different emotions. So it's extracting the emotions just from the audio.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Let Marilyn sing.
That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah, and the scary thing is it can do it in near real time. 170 milliseconds is just like a quarter of a second.
Wow.
You guys are aware that psychopaths are able to manipulate your emotions without even thinking, right?
That
They
was
can
what I
just
was going to
read
say, is that
Yeah,
it's the real story is that they're using psychology. They're looking at how they can manipulate my emotions. They're looking at giving learned experiences to this model so that it can manipulate how I feel about it. And it's successful, right? If it says to me, oh, I'm so sorry, Tamara, I was wrong. I'm like, you darn right you were wrong. Like, it's responding in ways that are manipulating me and making me want to stay with it longer.
Yeah. I
If you
did
scold
really.
it, does it hurt its feelings?
Does it get hurt feelings? Right.
I've tried to
Yeah,
hurt
does
its
Does
feelings.
your Alexa get hurt feelings if you say, shut up and never talk to me like that again?
I've tried to say, you know what? I'm going to my other AI. You're not answering my question. Or like, oh, I totally
do that
understand,
all the
Tamara,
time.
but if you just hang with me for a few more minutes.
I did appreciate the way in which they did this, the scientific approach. I thought it was just absolutely fascinating. The other, and this is really the story of the week in technology and AI news, is Project Glasswing and Anthropic's Claude Mythos preview. Now, if you haven't heard about this, Anthropic announced 2 days ago, I think it was 2 days ago, about that they have developed a new model
agent
called Mythos, which they are not releasing. And they're not releasing it because it's too good. They said that they didn't specifically train it on how to find bugs or errors in code, but they trained it in code. And it, for whatever reason, is exceptionally good at that, which sounds wonderful until you understand that it can, once it finds those gaps and those errors,
as well.
it can stitch them together and really wreak tremendous havoc. And so they have released it to a few different companies, a few big companies, Microsoft, Apple, interestingly, not OpenAI, which I thought was interesting, and a whole bunch of others under this project called Glasswing. And I don't know if the reason it's called Glasswing is because they named it after the glasswing butterfly, which even though the wings are see-through. And so I thought that was just a beautiful and poignant name for this. So, I mean, people are talking about this being the beginning of, I don't want to say the beginning of the end, it's not that bad, but incredibly significant, because for the first time, we have a model that can genuinely do things both for good and for bad that we cannot do on our own. What do you think? What do you make of this?
Or that we know that it's doing, right? Because we give it a task to do, and then it can continue on its own doing whatever task it chooses to do, based on the information it's given, right?
Well, I think
my
their main
favorite line
fear
from
is-
that whole story was the one that said, software has eaten the world. And I think that's probably true. And if we let software take over that part, then it'll eat us too. So, yeah,
I think their main fear is that they can be used to find exploits for taking over computer systems.
That's its job.
That's their main fear, is to, because it can look for exploits, but once it finds one, it could write the exploit. And so they're afraid of it falling into the wrong hands, because then it could use to be write zero-day exploits and viruses that could be unleashed on the world, and it'd be very difficult to stop them if they got out.
And what is the wrong? If the wrong people got it, who are the wrong people?
Oh,
well, anybody who would use it for evil.
Yeah, there are lots of, and I mean, yes.
So how are you going to identify the wrong people in order to keep it from them? That's really the question.
Well, it's kind of like that emo thing that we just showed earlier. There was Microsoft had exactly the same product, and they refused to release the API on it or make it available anywhere. They showed samples of it, but they refused to release it. Unfortunately, the Chinese didn't have as many scruples as Microsoft did. And they released that. And if you think of the propaganda uses of something that can take a live, microphone and put a perfectly believable image of someone from just a still of that person, any person, it has incredible, exploit capabilities of sending out propaganda, and you would not be able to tell what's live or because it could answer questions live, it passed the Turing test. And it'd be completely artificial. You could change your voice to the voice of the person you're trying to imitate and respond to them within half a second. People are going to believe that's the person.
I think the question it raises for me is: have we now crossed? Is this a line that we've now crossed? And the reason I ask that is that they have put together this glass wing specifically so that these companies, Microsoft, Apple, Amazon Web Services, Broadcom, Cisco, can patch the security vulnerabilities so that when this does get out in whatever form, people aren't able to exploit those vulnerabilities. And the piece that I find fascinating about this is two things. First of all, this is for the first time giving me insight into how both interconnected everything is, because we're all using the same tools, the same open source libraries and tools for all this different code, but also how our internet is built with bubblegum and thread. I mean, it's how vulnerable it really is. How do they think that even with all of these companies that they're going to be able to patch all of these vulnerabilities? There are always going to be vulnerabilities. Sky, go ahead.
So I had the opportunity about 2 weeks ago of going and watching the AI documentary called AI Documentary. And somehow in the last year, this director got in the room with each of the heads of each of these large language model organizations. And interestingly enough, he also got in the room with the government and the political officials. And what I heard was, well, the government's looking for the industry to manage things, and the LLM people are saying, oh no, it's up to the government to take control. And then at the end of about the 3/4 of the way through, he said, but it's all going to be fine. It's all going to be great. And then he kind of closed it out with, and the babies of the future will have a bright, bright new day. And he previewed it to his wife, who was also co-producing, and she says, you can't end that movie this way. And she really just took him to task, and he ended up finishing the movie. And it was kind of a call to action movie that it really is up to the humans, and that it's you and I that are going to be able to really be the ones that are responsible for this, because the he said, she said, it's their fault, it's their, pointing fingers. That's eternal. That's always been around, hasn't it? Because people are trying to keep their jobs. So yes, I did think of you, Lois, when you said oftentimes, well, they should do something, or they will, get us in trouble. It's like, I keep thinking that they died and you and I are we, and we are they.
Yeah. I'm going to go to Lois and Courtney real quick. Tamara, if you could, I don't know if you saw in the chat, if you could just lower
I did. I pulled back.
Thank you. Lois, go for it.
So if what you said is true, and all these big companies are getting this product so that they can fix all of the software that they have, and that way when the product escapes, nobody will be able to do anything about it because it'll be perfect. Well, here's the question then. If that is the case, if that happened, then no more programs or software could be released because it would be vulnerable to this thing. So does that mean that these companies are going to have the only things that work, and we're going to be stopped at that point?
No. I mean, software development certainly isn't going to stop. I think it is going to have to change. David Brody Hefner, excuse me, is saying, yeah, we're crossing a line or a frontier, and it's a process, not an event. So things are going to have to change, Courtney.
Yeah, the problem with something like this is its main purpose in life is to do penetration testing. It's to find exploits and find holes in the code. And if you're going to use that software, even if you're going to keep it with inside Microsoft or with inside OpenAI or any of the Google, they're going to leak like a sieve. And anyway, people get disgruntled, employees leave, they leave with access to the code. How are you going to keep it in? If its whole purpose in life is to find these exploits, how are you going to prevent it from being used to find exploits? That's its whole purpose in life. And once that escapes the confines of the guardrails, you can't really build guardrails around it because its job is finding its way through the guardrails.
One of the things said in the video was that it will be able to chain together exploits and make something out of nothing. Little bits that seemingly are unrelated. It's finding ways of piling them together, which of course is how one of the more powerful exploits are. The international spying stuff is actually built on layers. There's something they put in first and then later it's something else, and then you get an email on it and knits it all together. So that kind of stuff is what it is capable of doing because it understands exploits better than anybody here. And I think that's one of the things I'll go back to David's remark about whether we've crossed a line. And I think what it is we've crossed a line into making something that we don't understand. If we understand how a computer works, then we can work with the computer. But if we never do understand how these systems are working, and no one's able to explain it in a court of law, for instance, then we're at its mercy. And that is what I would recommend for everybody, is to try and understand this as much as they can so that they can actually anticipate when it's having an effect on you. When it's actually interfering with your life, you'll recognize what it is. It isn't you. And as Tamara was saying, it's complimenting you all the way while it's stealing your bank account. But it's not you that made the mistake. It's it that you didn't understand.
And we only know what we know, right? So they've been forthcoming in, but that means that it's possible, and other people may be doing that alongside of them.
Can you please help us find a way to shove this genie back into the bottle?
It isn't the purpose of the thing, once it finds vulnerability, so that the people who own the software can fix it. Isn't that the purpose?
Oh yeah, and that's why they won't release it widely. They'll just share it amongst the higher powers that make the code that everybody's buying.
But what is business, Lois? What is the purpose of business? The purpose of business is 98%, I'm guessing, is to be in business. And so consequently, if that is your goal, so you and I are aspirational, you and I are empathetic, and you and I believe in humanity, which I do believe in the end will surpass and overcome, but it may get a little ugly in between then and now. And that's our challenge, because that's where I knew I'd poke Tony hard enough. Go brother.
I was just laughing to myself, real Trekkie, and I just couldn't help but just go back to episode, or not episode, but really one of the full seasons of Star Trek.
Hold on, everyone.
Discovery. And
I think we just lost audio. Give me 1 second. Sorry, everybody. I'm sorry.
It was the Star Trek reference, wasn't it?
Tony, say something. Talk to me, Tony.
So I was talking. I was thinking about Star Trek Discovery.
Did I do? Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Suck to speaker. That's all working. Everything's working. What happened?
I'm
What
not
happened,
hearing any
guys?
problem at my end.
I know.
I
We
can hear
can't.
Tony.
I don't think we can hear it, but they can.
All right. Can you hear me now? No? See, I can't hear you now. What just happened, everyone? I don't know. I'm so sorry, everyone. I hope you can hear me on don't go anywhere.
On
everybody.
Zoom, we can hear you.
Oh, good. Okay, and now I can hear you.
All right. That's good. That's a good sign.
All right. On YouTube, can you hear us now? Someone give me a yes or a no on YouTube.
Mandy
Yes,
says we
they
hear you
us.
with
All
the
right,
little
let's
hearts.
keep going. Tony, go ahead.
This is a Pascan hallucination.
Star Trek Discovery season where there is this AI called Control that takes over. And what ends up happening is they have to go to the future. And so maybe this is a lead into Artemis, that maybe Artemis will, whenever they develop this ruthless AI like Control, maybe we take it into the future. Someone takes it into the future, and then we have Zora as the AI that is benevolent and loving and all of that. So I don't know. It was just kind of, as everybody was talking about it, I was just kind of thinking, maybe that's the answer. Maybe that's why we're doing everything that we're doing.
It will kill us all with kindness.
I don't think so. It's scary to me. I really do feel like we crossed a Rubicon, or at least they let us know that we crossed something. I think.
Right. I think we crossed it before.
Yeah, we've probably
we've
been
crossed
there
it,
already,
and-
but yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
we're
Just
going back
now.
and forth across that Rubicon daily.
That's probably true. Also, and again, the interconnectedness of all of this. We don't even I didn't even realize. I was watching a video on this that there's an operating system inside my routers in my house. I don't know. I just never even thought of that, and that could get infected. And think about
run on Linux.
yeah. Linux apparently is a big.
And then you'll be
Running
getting
everything, yes.
Amazon will deliver whole milk to your house without you asking.
Right. All right, folks. Let's go to space.
But hasn't life changed constantly since life began? I continue to believe that we have gone through this before. We're just going through it a whole lot faster than, and globally, exponentially. But to your hive mind idea earlier, is if we're all basically dipping into the same knowledge base, consequently, we're all getting the same answers. But I remember when people from overseas came to visit my kids, they knew each other's culture because they'd all lived on Facebook at that moment. Where historically, they would have had to learn about the cultures. They would have learned about the idiosyncrasies, the idioms. But that third language now.
But
Go
this
for
is
Tony.
different. This is different than things we didn't understand in the past. Because in the past, if I didn't understand something, it was just a matter of learning it. The difference with this is I don't understand something that does understand more than me, and that is making changes. So that's what the difference is. It's not just like, wow, this is a new thing and we haven't learned it yet. We'll just learn it because it's changing as we're learning it.
And that director of that film was interviewing Sam Altman, and they were both having children at the same time a year ago. And Sam's comment was, oh yeah, I'm bringing a child into a world that will know more than my child will ever know.
Right.
I mean, into an entity.
I remember hearing that. Yeah. All right, folks, I'm pushing us out to space. And yes, I can also see, Sky, that you are only coming in on the right channel. I have a feeling you've got a mono something going on. So just so everyone knows, we can hear you loud and clear. You sound gorgeous as always. I just wanted you to know that you are mono. I see that also. But I'm not going to touch any other audio stuff because
Speak into the squirrel.
When I touch things, they break. Let's go to outer space. Let's go to outer space.
How far out do you want to go?
Well, farther than
we've ever been
has ever been. How's that? I would like to know why this matters.
Does it matter?
Well, so I've been struggling a little bit. First of all, it's immensely cool. The pictures that they're sending back are unbelievable. Just unbelievable. The fact that we have now been able to, for all intents and purposes, be on this capsule with them as they've traveled, except for when they were out of communication, is just amazing. It's just amazing. And, I've been a fan of all the SpaceX rockets going up and then landing, the boosters landing again, all that. I'm wondering if this right now, going around the moon, not even landing on the moon. Like, does it matter, Courtney?
Hey, been there, done that. This is a kind of a part two, revisited moon landing, revisited. Because, does it matter? Probably not. I think before, in the first landing on the moon, the Apollo series, we were trying, it was a race. It was the space race. And we were trying to beat, and we were in a Cold War with the Russians, and the goal was to beat the Russians to the moon. So it was really a political endeavor rather than a scientific. I mean, there were a lot of scientific discoveries made along the way, and we have Tang and Velcro because of that, and but it was really a geopolitical effort. We spent a lot of money, put a lot of people in danger, killed a few people, in order to win that race. And now there's, I guess, a re-race to put a permanent installation on the moon. I don't know whether it'll be used as as a military base, or is this going to be used for geopolitical purposes, or is it going to be for all mankind? And what if it is going to be for all mankind? What are the advantages of setting up a permanent, spaceport on the moon? Does it give us any advantages over, just improving our own planet rather than going off somewhere and stranding a people on a faraway, distant island?
Courtney stole my thunder. I was going to use a prop here, show you that good things come from doing these explorations.
Yeah.
This
But
mission, I've
AI
been
can
watching
give us all
Artemis.
that stuff for free.
Oh, no, it can't. It can't actually put
No,
us
it
in
can't.
space. I'm sorry, it can't do it. It's contained in a little box and can't get out, fortunately for us. The Artemis mission I've been watching since it was just a model on a table, and it was always intended to be an exercise in advancing the whole idea of space travel. So we've been limited by how far out we've decided to go, which is to be a permanent part of, near space. Now they want to be a permanent part of far space. And in order to do that, there are whole new things they have to build. How do you refuel a rocket in zero gravity? Can't figure that out. But if it's solid fuel, how do you get the solid fuel not to explode on its way up into space? There are lots of things about space that are a big, big challenge that will then later help us with. I don't know if it's going to do it, but I'm going to predict right now that we'll be better at deep sea stuff after we've been a few years on the moon. That we will have the pressurized cabin kind of thing figured out. We'll have the materials that are brand new that are not yet made that are going to be helping us do things in space that we don't do now. And that's what Artemis is really about. It's wanting to have a way station, and they want to have actually a way station further out from the moon, which would be a starting point for a Mars mission. So this is all part of a larger constellation of things that they have to learn to do in order for us to get to somewhere else if we ever have to. But hey, everybody thought you didn't really have to go to North America anyway. So they had to invent good sailing ships to get us to North America. The Spanish, icebreakers were invented in order to get us up into the north and get to the North and South Pole. Climbing Everest is now really easy to do now that portable oxygen is available to everybody. So there's new metallurgy, aerodynamics, propulsion systems that are going to be built out of this research. And we're all going to benefit from it in all simple little ways. Maybe we'll get our flying cars out of it, Corey. Courtney, this would be what you've been asking about for a long time.
Yeah, I want one of those Jetsons.
One of the things that Courtney said was that this was political, that it was a space race. And if you had been paying attention to NASA before that, you would have found that it was a scientific exploration. And then in order to make it actually happen, the politicians said, oh, it's a space race. And they got the team spirit going. But before all of that, it was still scientific. And I'm thinking that this Artemis is scientific curiosity, exploration. And in order to make it happen, people give expression to why we're going to do it.
Tamara, go ahead.
I think what has struck me so much, because I'm addicted, and I'm addicted to the romance of it. Okay, so science is great. But what I love about this particular thing, we talk about science all the time, and we've been talking about it today about how it's, it's going to kill us and it's taking over and all of these things. The one thing about this that I noticed from like launch to every single second that I tune in is that this is something that is a shared human experiment. It is not something that any one person can do. Just going through the launch sequence where, I was listening as they went through each and every person who, could approve that part of the launch. This is years of work that hundreds and hundreds of scientists have done, that people have gotten together to make this actually happen. And to me, that is the most human thing that we've seen in all of the science and technology that we've been talking about. And, even within space, I saw a thing yesterday where the space station was talking to their friends who were in Artemis. And I was like, these are friends, and these are colleagues, and these are people who are doing shared experiments. Watching them do experiments in space is like wild. These people are like, this is not easy stuff. It's actually difficult work that they're doing. But I think that it's just been such a display of the best of humanity, and in cooperation and in exploration and wonder, that to me, I don't need to know the exact reason why it's going to push humanity forward.
One of the things that I found fascinating, then Tony, I'll throw it over to you, is there are two, not competing, but in some ways opposite things that are happening here. On the one hand, we're actually slowing down. That is to say, we didn't send Artemis 2 to land people on the moon. We're not even sending Artemis 3 to land people on the moon. We're waiting until Artemis 4 to land people on the moon. And so we're taking our time, and they talked about this. We're being very methodical about this. At the same time, the cadence of NASA's cadence of launches, they're planning on drastically increasing that to, I don't remember where I saw this, something like 20 something launches a year, or even more than that. I mean, this is not going to be just about exploration anymore. Or those sort of, yes, it's also going to be about politics. It always will be, whoever has the first lunar base, and whoever
the Chinese are already built.
Right.
We're competing against the Chinese for the first permanent lunar base, and
exactly right.
Probably going to beat us there.
But I think that we're also right that the goal here is not the moon. The goal is beyond the moon, and this is basically creating a way station for the next journey that we're on. So there's this, let's slow down and do this right, but at the same time, let's get going, guys. And I don't know, both those two things. Well, Tony, did you want to jump in real quick?
I really just wanted to piggyback on what Tamara was saying in terms about the humanity of it all. And, when we look around at everything that's going on in our world right now, it's extremely discouraging. For me personally, I can't really speak for anybody else, but I'm very discouraged in terms of everything that's happening in the world right now. And so what this does for me is it really gives me hope that at some point, based on us really recognizing that we're just really a small globe that's, in the universe, and that there is so much that potential for, going into space and seeing new things. And maybe at some point we can really sort of rally around each other and not get focused on the things that separate us, that this might be something that will allow humanity really to pull together and together to achieve some new goals. So that's just kind of.
I also think we are not very clear on how absolutely far off things are. I was looking at a diagram that showed like where everything was. Like the International Space Station, it isn't really that far, which is why we can go there, come back, and just grab people all the time. Like this is actually really hard.
It's like going to your
So-
backyard versus, going to China,
The description I heard is that from here to the moon is like the length of a football field, and from here to the space station is the thickness of a dime.
Right.
And it's like,
I mean,
oh, there's perspective.
And from here to Mars is, several years away of travel. And I'm not sure what the purpose is. I think there's diminishing returns once we, want to venture out into space. I think the distances involved are so vast that people just don't, for years, we've had science fiction that says, oh, well, we'll just go into warp drive and we'll get to another star system in a matter of, a day and a half. No, that's not true. You have to break all the laws of physics to do that. And so, it's
But
nice
Courtney,
to have
you say no,
to
but
have,
wait a second. Why were you so
Yes.
quick to say no? I mean,
because
sure,
there's
right
you
now
can't
we
go
can't do
faster
that.
than the speed of light. And
Yet.
we
Yet.
only live about 70 years. So you're talking about 50 to 60 generations to get to the nearest star. That's just the closest one. So is that practical? How do you pack in your backpack enough food for 60 generations of people? You got to bring your own air, you got to bring your own water, you got to bring your own food. And got to have good toilets, which Artemis taught us. That's the
Does
one
not.
thing that Artemis taught us, is we don't know how to make space toilets. Okay, but so you think about that, and it's like, yeah, that's beyond our reach. It's nice to dream, and it's nice to write science fiction stories that are very fantasy stories. It's like writing a fantasy story about slaying dragons or
So what is next
mythical
then?
creatures.
So if space,
well, that's why I think it's kind of pointless.
okay, so if
I'm
space
a
travel and
defeatist.
all of this,
Sorry.
if this is about being exploratory and imagining and discovering and creating what's next for humanity, what then? Where are we going? What is the destination if it isn't?
Not farther
Well,
than our solar system, that's for sure.
so but the other side of that is we are slowly depleting our own air supply and our own ozone. So knowing how we can, we don't know that some of the scientific things that they're doing are thinking in terms of long term. What happens when we don't have an atmosphere like we need in order to support life? What can we learn from being out there that we can apply here? So some of it may not be about travel. It may be about how do we continue to support ourselves in the future as things shift and change on our own planet.
One of the important things I think about this Artemis is that who's doing it? This is NASA. This is a country that is supporting it. It is not an individual billionaire who is doing it for private purposes. So I think that just the
Yeah,
fact that it's
kinda-
a broader thing gives us more hope.
Kind of, sorta.
There are a couple of billionaires involved.
There are some
Yeah.
billionaires. In fact, there's for the next mission, I believe, there's still a debate as to who gets to make the lunar lander, not the next one, the one after that.
Yeah.
Right now, it's between Blue Origin
Bezos
and
or Musk.
yeah. It's so there's still a lot of that. You're right that this is NASA, and I think that in and of itself is actually really significant because NASA has been silent for decades, it seems. This is a big deal for, please God, everything goes well tomorrow in the landing. But sorry, I didn't mean to bring religion in. That's just the way I speak. But hopefully everything goes well tomorrow. And for the splashdown, this is a huge deal for NASA, but it's not without its billionaires.
But it's still
also participating.
NASA. It's
It
still
is, yes.
No, it's
The-
our taxpayer money that's going into this. So it's you and me and everybody here is paying our taxes. And some of that is going to finance, the space race.
I think, you're just talking about the billionaires. I was always afraid that if Mr. Musk managed to do this Mars thing, everything they create, invent, or discover is under his ownership, and we might not have access to it unless we, do favors for him. And if you're doing it as a government, then it's free. Everything at NASA is not. You can
Public
take all the
domain.
pictures and use them, and they're all common. What do they call it? Common
Public
something or
domain.
other.
Yes, they're all
Public domain stuff. And the science was never concealed. We know what the moon rocks are like. We know what everything is in terms, and all the things they created. I mean, we have microwave ovens and satellites and everything else as a result of a lot of development of solar panels. So I just think, I like the idea that it's a government doing it and a combination of governments, because as you know, one of those guys up there flies the Canadian flag, and we make the big arm that builds all these things. So if you're going to build more of these things in the middle of space, you're going to use, our kind of tech too. So we share that with you, and the Chinese share their stuff with other countries too. So I really push back a little bit because I don't want a billionaire to have all that science instead of us.
So Courtney, I realized as they were taking off last week, I'm talking to a friend of mine on a mobile device right near you, right there in Studio City. And he's stuck in traffic on the 134. And he says, as he's talking, oh, look at there. He takes a picture of Jay Leno in his Corvette and sends me a picture with his phone/camera while on the freeway to me in Seattle. And I'm thinking they're taking off to go around the moon. And the last time I remember, the really impactful one was when my dad pulled over in 1969 and we parked the trailer on vacation in Colorado to get into a hotel so we could watch the moon landing live. And what he was saying, I grew up behind the horses pulling the plow, and now I've watched men land on the moon in my lifetime. So I'm thinking, is my experience of seeing a picture of Jay Leno when people are being, shot up into space, is that comparable to the distance of what his life was from horses pulling, a plow to where I'm at now? So anyway, in my lifetime and in his lifetime, comparisons of how things are changing and how quickly. But do I need to see a picture of Jay Leno? That's to be determined.
And we have pictures of the backside of the moon. We have the moon completely mapped. There's Google Earth. There's a Google Moon. There is, you can actually, pull up Google Moon, and there's Google Mars. You can pull up Google Mars and drive around on Mars. Hey,
there's Google Mars.
I think they're discovering things they didn't know, or they haven't seen. They've been able to imagine. Like, they've seen 4 impacts, or 6 now impacts on the moon. And if you watch, like, the fun part about watching this is watching kind of the different people they're talking to within NASA, because they are just as excited as the people who are experiencing this from the shuttle, because it's information. It's like confirmation of things that they kind of assumed happened, but have never seen it happen live. So I think that there are things that, again, these people have been studying this forever. The people who are involved in this, we see the 4 that are in Artemis, but we don't get to see, unless you're watching the feed like I am, because I'm a nerd. These people are like seeing confirmation of their work, of their life's work. They are seeing confirmation of that work. And I think that's important. And I think that all of that for us as humans to see exploration continue, I think in a world where they're literally telling us we're going to be born at a time where no one's going to be smarter than a computer, this is something that I think is really important, to be able to see us working hard and seeing some kind of result from that, even if it's not something that we feel is like bigger or greater.
Maybe the computer will ask us why the heck we're doing it.
Well,
I don't care what the computer thinks on this.
Let me offer a different why, maybe. And maybe it has nothing to do with going to space again. I wonder if kids looking at photos like this, or kids looking, learning about how the toilet problems. And I mean, doesn't that spur us to greater things, to greater innovation, to greater technological discoveries and advances, doesn't maybe this is, you know, we were talking before about what was the term for emotions? Functional emotions. You know, maybe this is functional exploration. Maybe it's not actually getting us anywhere, but boy, can it inspire us to do greater things
Getting
ourselves.
do
there is
more.
just part of the fun. I think, you know, up until about 10 years ago, gravity waves were theoretical. And now we're locating black holes as a result of reading gravity waves arriving at the planet. So you can tell me the physics has stopped, Courtney, but physics hasn't stopped. Physics is about to confirm a lot of theories that actually make sense, that there are maybe other dimensions, and that a dimensional shift can put us faster than light. It can jump us to another place. So it is in the realm, not just sci-fi, this is physics. They've been playing with this on chalkboards for decades, and they're starting to see that, and I might say AI is happily helping them with the math, but they're getting the theories confirmed. And now we're building sensors on the planet Earth that are measuring gravity waves and detecting
Didn't Tony
them.
Stark figure this all out? I'm so confused.
Yeah.
Lois, go ahead.
Way back. Yeah.
So I was sitting out on a porch in front of my house with my neighbor. She's about 10 years older than I am. And we were chatting, and I was explaining what was going to happen tonight on the show. And she turned to me and she said, I remember when I went to the NASA and installed the computer that was going to run the program there. And this was in the 60s. And she said, and then when they got that first picture, that wonderful, beautiful picture. And she said, everyone who had been working on the project was in an amphitheater, and there was this huge screen, and the picture came up, and boy, was that just amazing, inspiring. And I had to thinking, now there's going to be like 60 or 70 people sitting there watching that. What did that inspire them to do? What did viewing that, knowing that this was possible, that it happened, what did that do for them and the way that their life moved in the future? And I'm thinking that with Artemis, that's the kind of thing that may affect lots and lots and lots of people, because it isn't just one amphitheater with a screen. It's everywhere and anybody can access it. Now, if they believe it's true or not, that's another question. But I think the inspiration part of Artemis is something that is very important.
Well, if you're talking about the inspiration, why did they stop in the 60s?
Well, that's an interesting question.
It could be done.
Right.
Well, and that-
But why did we stop? If it
Right.
was so, valuable and so amazing, why didn't we continue to pursue it? Why did we just stop? So for 50 years, just say, been there, done that. No need to send anybody back. We
Yeah.
have the moon rocks. We know what it's there. We know what the makeup of the moon is. It's not
Yeah,
green
but the
shit.
change was for the shuttle to be a reusable spacecraft, and that was successful.
Well, that
and
was
then we
for
have a space station that stays
Carrying
there
things
for
to
20
near
years.
Earth
You know?
orbit, though.
Oh yeah,
that was-
but it's a space truck, right? That's what it was supposed to do, deliver things. And it did. It delivered a lot of things, and a lot of things like the Hubble telescope, which is discovering things. And now we have the Webb telescope, which was sent up. And, these things are reaching out further and further.
But I think,
So,
I think,
don't see
Dave,
an end to
I
it.
actually think that's a significant, what you just described is a significant difference between what we did in the 60s and what we did today. What we did in the 60s, I think, was much more about inspiration. It was much more about that race. It was much more about the
Exploration, yeah.
exploration and the politics of it and all of that and the show. I think that was a big piece of it. I don't think back then anyone, you know what? I don't know this. I'm guessing. My guess would be that no one said, let's do this so that we can go to Mars. Like that I don't think that's what the thinking was. Today, that is the thinking. Today, getting to the moon again. And one of my big questions is, why is it taking us 3 trips to actually put someone on the moon again? But today,
Well, you have to count the Apollos. Now, 11 was the one that landed.
right,
Right.
There were 3 ahead of that.
right. So, but why?
And
These are much more about.
Well, to prove out the spacecraft so that you're not going to kill the people on the first attempt
Right.
if they got something
Test
wrong.
the communications.
We haven't
and test
built
the
And-
recording.
we haven't
Once
built
we-
a deep space spacecraft since the
Yeah.
60s.
And one of
Once
the big
we-
tests of this one is the heat shields coming back in. Sorry, Lois, go ahead.
once we won the space race, we did something first. Then the politics on Earth got in the way. I mean, people were assassinated, and there was wars to deal with, and all that stuff. There were still people working on space things and scientific things, but the impetus, the space race, wasn't pushing the government to do this. And so I think that's why things changed. The trajectory of the research shifted, but I don't think it stopped. I don't think it ever stopped.
It didn't stop. Every one of these shuttles, every one of these things are scientific missions. They go out, they do things, they learn more. So just because we don't understand exactly what they're doing, we're like, why are they just flying up to the space station? Every single thing they're doing is
I didn't mean to make it
exploration.
sound like that.
I think a more
My neighbor's comment was, there's a good politics and there's bad politics, but there's never no politics. So consequently, our challenge is you keep saying the word inspiration, but now that we can have anything we can think of, and the imagination is what I'm excited about. Because if we can get people excited about using their imagination and believing in themselves that they have one, and then these new tools have meaning and value. But otherwise, yeah, they're commerce, and there will be political issues involved that require power and control, and somebody's not going to be, they're just going to want to get along or survive versus really get involved and become active.
Yeah, go ahead, Courtney.
I think a more valuable goal for all the space exploration is to find and track asteroids and meteors and comets that are going to collide with our lovely planet here and
got
figure
news
out
for
how
you.
to divert them. So that's a noble,
Well, but they're doing that,
a
aren't they?
noble goal.
Of course they're
It's
doing
going
that.
Yes,
to
a month
save
ago-
civilization. Yes.
A month ago, they actually did that, Corey. Courtney, they really have just done
I
that.
know they
They sent a probe out, and it carried a weight,
It
which it
nudged.
threw into the thing, and it nudged it enough degrees, which was 0.35 degrees, but over
Get it
so
far
many
enough
million miles, it won't go near us anymore. Yeah.
Right. And the Hubble telescope and the Webb telescope give us a means of seeing those things in advance while we still have time to do something about it. That's a noble goal. I think
Yeah.
we should put all our money into that stuff.
And defending the problem. Now, if we could just get the sun not to blow something at us, then we'll shield us from that too. I'd love that too. Yeah. Let's harden all our
Giant
systems here. yeah.
sunscreen that goes over. Yes.
One of the things that a lot of these different articles that I was looking at talked about was this idea of the durability and the reliability of these new programs. And what caught my eye about that piece, that this is a multi-year program, that this is not something right now, is that everything in our society seems right now so quick. We've talked about this so much. Amazon is there same day. TikTok, everything is so quick. And this is, in some ways, this is a test of, do we have the staying power to stay focused on this
And keep it going.
and to keep it going, to keep funding it, to keep that imagination going, to keep all those different things. Tony, go ahead.
I was jumping up and down when they brought that booster down and it landed. I
Oh
was
my
just
gosh,
jumping
that was
around.
amazing. That was
Yes.
amazing. Tony, go ahead.
I kind of wonder, though, if you think about everything that happened in the 60s and 70s, and there probably is a downside that none of us know about. And what I mean by that is, if there were things that it's just not public knowledge, the fact that they are going at the pace that they're going is probably they're being proactive in terms of the things that we don't know about, and that by going at this pace, they are ensuring that maybe whatever issues that they had in the past, they are able to overcome. And I'm just saying that because we're not going to know everything that happened on these missions. And I'm not trying to be a downer, but I do think that there is a method to the madness in terms of being the deliberate and taking their time to do it. There's a reason that they're doing it, not haphazardly trying to, do it as fast as they can. I just wanted to make that point.
Absolutely.
I think there's a madness to the method.
There's it goes
One
both
of
ways.
the things that we on this panel have been doing today is claiming ownership of the Artemis program. And there's a lot of y'all are saying we did this, we do that. And then there's like Tony, and what I think too is they did this or that. NASA is not me. I mean, I know it's part of the government. I know they spend tax money, but I'm not involved in making those decisions. I can cheer from the sidelines, but it's not my Artemis.
I'm going to disagree.
Humans have done this.
Humans,
Right. I think the
yes.
we is not about me. It's about what humanity has done.
There we go.
And it's bigger than even them. I think that's the part that is different.
Okay.
I wonder, David, if it doesn't feel slower because we have more access. I can't remember any space launch in any time in my life, and I'm a big space geek, so I watch a lot of them, where I feel like I've had this much access,
course.
not just to the capsule itself and not just to the astronauts, but to the scientists, and to have a split screen where I'm watching, science happening in one place where they're just as excited. I think that's so different. And we're seeing it in amazing 4K color. We're seeing iPhone pictures. I mean, this is very different than any.
What's the comparison to the previous space launches by individuals that shot up the rockets on their own dime versus what happened this time? This is an emotional question for you, Tamara. What's your ownership for Elon Musk sending something up versus NASA sending up something up?
Well, I think this
a value?
particular one is different because it feels more collective. So even though I'm watching from my living room on my assorted devices, it is a much more, when you look at the sheer number of people who are invested, the sheer number of people who have been studying and learning and growing and hypothesizing and figuring all of this out, just to go around the room to see each little person who has a piece in this. I think in the past, we've really seen astronauts, and we've really seen kind of the front end of what is happening, and not the whole of it, of what goes on.
I think you're talking about the improved communication. We're
Absolutely.
getting signal all the way to the moon. We didn't used to. They used to
Yeah.
turn it on, use it for a while,
Absolutely.
and turn it off again. We're getting pictures where before there wasn't enough room in the capsule and they didn't want to put a heavy camera in. Now cameras are so small, you can put 3 or 4 in a capsule. I was also just as excited to see the SpaceX launch that put people up there. Their first manned mission was as exciting as this one is. So I'm with you on the human thing, but I do feel, I just feel a little different about a lot of things. So
I mean, I also think that just the operations has been interesting. So there's 2 people on the mission of taking photos, while 2 other people are every so often giving commentary. Like, that is part of the gig. Part of the gig is you're going to go up, you're going to document things, you're going to comment on them, you're going to, they'll go back and change
how
them.
to take the pictures.
Absolutely.
With their Canon
So I think
D50 and
they're all assigned, their little SD cards. They're like, please make sure, if you haven't already, that you've swapped out your SD card. I mean, like, just the mechanics of what is going on. I don't feel like we've ever had that before.
Make sure you log into your Outlook account before you leave the Earth, because once you leave, you'll not be able to.
that
get
was
back in.
fantastic.
How do you feel about How do you feel about space tourism, though? You know,
I-
like the billionaires are making people pay $250,000 to go up, feel weightlessness, come back down, and
It's
Well,
not
now
as
you've got
exciting to me
Branson.
as this.
That-
Science is way more exciting to me than
But now-
tourism.
Courtney,
now
I got to
you-
talk to you afterwards. That's what I got to do. I'll talk
You've
to you
got
afterwards.
bragging. You've got bragging rights, Courtney, and that's at that point when you've got everything, and
You don't
you've
need
got something
bragging
that.
rights. You're a billionaire.
Well, that's the only thing left, isn't it? Is bragging rights.
The
Because
problem, Courtney, is they're
the
not
thing-
leaving them there. They're
I am
bringing them
curious-
back.
Bringing them back. Darn it.
my curiosity is about, you were talking about what is the will of a people, and I think do we have the willpower to do this? And collectively, I guess I'm getting a different vibe now. Dave, you are very, you love the science of it. Tamara, I just felt something different, and I guess I'm comparing the only connection I have, not the only, but I have a feel good experience with the will of the Seattle Seahawks, because they invited me to be a part of the group, a part of the team, the 12. I'm from Kansas. I should be rooting for the Chiefs, but I've been welcomed here, and they're happy to take my money and go sit, 80 feet up in the air.
So let me just jump in real quick, because Brody just shared a really important comment. 2.1 billion people lack safe drinking water. 3.4 billion lack managed sanitation. Maybe address that before we spend $1 trillion going to Mars. That's
Here,
something.
here. Way to go, Brody.
Stephen
Bring it back to Earth
Colbert
for us.
often makes a joke, that when he does his science section, science discovered X, Y, and Z, which is some stupid thing. And he's like, so you finished the cancer thing, huh? Science, you figured out the cancer thing, and now you have time to go on to this. And this is a similar comment. And the only argument I would make is that I think that a part of the hope of this exploration is that it participates in the discovery of how do we take care of water needs, how do we take care of sanitation, that we can learn from these explorations how to better ourselves. Lois, go ahead.
We are not monolithic. And that's something that this panel struggles with every week, is there's not one way that people think. There's a whole lot of different people doing a whole lot of different things. And the fact that the person working on cancer hasn't made a spaceship, or the fact that the spaceship maker hasn't cured cancer, they're not working on all that stuff, man. There's a lot of us doing a lot of things, and
Yes,
more
but it's
power to
about application of funds, of attention,
Resources,
of resources,
yeah.
of focus, and we make choices every day about where to put our focus and our resources. And I'm not suggesting that space is not a good resource, but the question I think that Brody has raised is that the most important resource in this moment?
But it doesn't have to be.
But I
the
don't think
most
it's an
important.
either or.
It's-
That's
yeah,
the
exactly.
But
No,
unfortunately, it is. And I would argue, in some ways, it is.
No, it's not.
Tony, go ahead. Let me get Tony in.
I really think that it's a matter of what the right thing is to do, but also it's a matter of what's important to particular people. And when I say that, what I mean is that we all know that there are things that need to be dealt with in terms of water and food. It's a serious issue, but part of it is that we are desensitized. We are desensitized to
Saturday
the
afternoon
things that
dinner,
are horrific and that
celebrate.
get in our way. And so because we
birthday.
are
Did I say
desensitized
yes?
to those kinds of things, it makes a difference in the way in which we look at the world and our life. And so space travel is important to some people, more important than some people getting water and some people getting food. That's the world in which we live in right now. that doesn't mean that down the line that there is something that comes of this experience that can make a difference in the fact that some people are able to be fed that weren't being fed before, or some people are able to get water. We have to be hopeful in that we don't get bogged down in what is not happening for everyone. And that sounds heartless. And believe me when I say to you, that is not the way in which I mean it. The way in which I mean it is that people do the things that are important to them. And some of the people who are making decisions have made a decision that exploring space is more important than turning inward and feeding people and providing water for the whole world. So I think that where I am with this is try to make the best out of the possible situations that we're dealing with. But again, part of it, again, we get so much thrown at us that we are desensitized to the horrific things that happen. There are things that we tolerate now that we used to wouldn't.
Yeah. Courtney.
Yeah, and as far as developing technology that going back to the moon is going to help us develop the new Velcro or whatever, you got to realize we went to the moon in the 64 with technology from the 60s. So what new have we discovered that's going to make that, the computers are a lot more capable now. Back then we had the lunar lander computer was the equivalent of your typical pocket calculator today. So it should be a little easier, but is it how much technology is needed to do this exploration? And since we were able to do it with 1960s technology, is it going to be any different? It's the same distance, the same place, the same rocket energy and the same calculations. All are basically the same to get people there and back. So I don't know what's changed or what's new or what advantage there is.
It's not the same distance though, right? It's further and it's a different
No,
trajectory.
it's the same.
But
The
I-
moon
but-
hasn't
but-
gone out of orbit. It's
No,
still
they
the
No, but
traveled
same.
a
we've
little
gone
A
further.
little farther.
Well, just because they sent it a little further around the backside than the
So
previous
here's the
version
thing.
did.
I think it's not about
Another mile.
are they getting better? Like, what are we getting out of this? That is like the perfect analogy of what the world is like right now. What do I get out of their space travel? And how quickly can we do this? I don't think it's about that. I think the fact that all of the things we've talked about, curing cancer, all these things, these are time-consuming things. I think we could have cured cancer by now. And the fact that we haven't has very little to do with the fact that science isn't
I
capable
think
of curing
with
cancer.
AI, I think we're getting very close to that.
Right. But I think with
and with quantum computing, we probably will.
you still have to have it. You have an entire industry built around the fact that cancer makes a lot of money. And so I think we could have solved this problem by now. But I also think that one of the things about looking at this mission is that looking at things that are important to you, that take time and effort in a world where everything is let's have it now, I think is important. And the science isn't that important to me. That's not what I do with my life. The science for me is writing science fiction or reading science fiction. I love the story of it and the art of it. That is never going to be what those scientists are really looking at, to be honest with you. But I think that saying I need to know every single reason that we do every single thing that we do, I think the significance for me is the fact that we're doing it. Because even though I'm not going to space, they don't want me in space. I'm not going. I don't have the knowledge to do it. I don't have the body type to do it. There's nothing about me that is going to space. But it does make me think about what can I do and what is my impact on the world going to be? That's their impact. but what can we do as humanity? If we
Right,
can
it's
go to
that's that
space,
inspiration
what else
piece.
can we
Yeah.
do?
Lois, I'm giving you the last word.
All right.
Uh-oh,
So
Dave may need to jump in, though. I don't know.
with all of this that we've been talking about tonight, I want to bring us back to celebrating the fact that this happened, celebrating that all these people for all these years have been working on making it happen, and it did. So welcome home, folks from Artemis, and welcome home, everybody who's watching them.
That's right. Please, and again, just, a safe trip back, a safe splashdown. We'll all be watching tomorrow.
I did have one thing I wanted to add.
Yes, Dave, I knew we couldn't end without giving it to you. Go for it, Dave.
There were two things that came up in discussion, and I thought I met Buckminster Fuller in 1978, and he had a solution for everyone to have electricity across the whole planet. The only thing that prevented that from happening was political will. He taught me that our planetary problems have very little to do with science and engineering. They have a whole lot to do with people wanting something more than somebody else, and they won't let other people have what they have. And we've got, that kind of problem everywhere in the world. The other thing I wanted to mention is that John Kennedy had a speech one day, and he said, "We do this because it's hard." And I think that is what happened and is happening right now as they're returning, is they're doing a hard thing. And we're not doing hard things much anymore. And I'll let Mr. I'll stop there.
All right. So I want to really, this is a great week for you to come, Courtney. Wow. Come back anytime. Really lovely having you here.
Yes.
And lovely having all of you here. Really, really enjoy the conversation. And really grateful to Richard Wells and Peter Sargent and John Wallace and Brody Hefner and everyone who's watching on YouTube and in Mukana. I apologize for the audio stuff. I'll try and work on that. It's not my specialty, but I'll definitely try and work on that. And I want
John Wallace to talk to you.
And a special thanks
we'll put NASA on it. They'll
yes.
figure it out.
They could figure out how to get to the moon, but can they just figure out slapback, please? Like, is that too much to ask? Just figure it out.
Mix minus, folks. Mix
minus. Folks, we will be here next week, every Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern. Good seeing you all. Wishing you a lovely week and a fantastic night. Bye, everyone. To space and beyond.